Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hooga With It. Today I'm going to do a video that was very much inspired by Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, and it's auto-buy authors. These are the authors that I would drop moolah on in a heartbeat as soon as I know they're coming out with a new book. I am insanely excited. So I wanted to share them with you. Let's get into it. There's so many amazing authors. I could probably add to this list if I'm being honest, but I wanted to share with you like authors that I really need to read everything that they write. So first up is Kathleen Grissom. Now I have both of her books on my shelves. This is the first. This is The Kitchen House. I also have Glory Over Everything, which is a sequel to The Kitchen House. You can read them individually, but there's one or two characters from The Kitchen House that show up in Glory Over Everything, and it means a lot more to you when you've read The Kitchen House, if that makes any sense. This woman can write. I really just flew through both of those books. I read them back to back because I was so into it. This particular book is about slavery. We follow an Irish girl who travels from Ireland with her family over to America. Her family die along the way, and a slave owner takes her in, and she stays in the kitchen house with the slaves, and she works alongside them, and her books read kind of like a soap opera. Like, they are that fast-paced. They're so fast-paced and so many things happen. Just when you think you're gonna get a breath from one huge thing being dropped on you like a little bomb, there's something else following it, and you cannot put these down. Like, this is some of the best historical fiction I've ever read. So good. I'll read Kathleen Grissom forever. I'm really eagerly awaiting her next book. I don't know when it's coming out or even what it's about, but I really want her to come out with a new one. Next up is absolutely Karin Slaughter. I really love this thriller author. She wrote Pretty Girls. I think that's the one that she's best known for. The Good Daughter, pieces of her, and then she has, so some of these are kind of standalone books, although The Good Daughter, I believe, is the first in a series, and the series hasn't been completed. This book, Pieces of Her, is being turned into a Netflix series, I think, which should be really fun. And she also has a whole detective series that I bought. I have the first two books of that on my shelves, and so I'm really eager to dive into that. But what I love about Karin Slaughter is she is a super gritty author. So if she writes thrillers, they don't shy away from blood and gruesomeness and violence. So if you're picking her up, please be forewarned. This is not light and fluffy in any way, shape, or form. I do think if you like Gillian Flynn, you'll probably like Karin Slaughter. I'm slowly trying to, collect all of the detective series, but I should probably start reading them first because you guys know how I struggle with any sort of detective series stuff. So Karin Slaughter is a must. Ian Reid is another thriller, thriller sci-fi sometimes writer. I'll explain why it's very confusing to like put a label on Ian Reid. He doesn't stay in a box. He doesn't only write thrillers. He doesn't only write sci-fi. Like, he changes it up. He wrote I'm Thinking of Ending Things and also Foe. Both of those books are very short. He writes, they're usually about 200-ish pages, and you start the book and you have no idea what's going on. You know that there's something super unsettling. Both of those books had very unsettling storylines. You don't know why you're uncomfortable until the end, and it's like a huge reveal. I guessed the twist in I'm Thinking of Ending Things, it did not stop me from loving that book. He is just a master at making you feel like your skin is crawling, but you're not exactly sure why. So good. Moving over to historical fiction is Kate Morton. I have all of Kate Morton's books on my shelves, except The Forgotten Garden, which I got rid of because I didn't like that one. I love all of her other books though. I'm hoping to read this one in May, and so I just really love her books. They go back and forth in time, and you are always looking at a mystery and trying to solve a mystery from history. So you go back usually to the 1800s or the 1900s. There's a lot of World War II in her books. And then you flash forward, and I really enjoy Kate Morton. She is such a like spring summery read for me, more spring than summer if I'm being honest. This is a very much a comfort author for me. So when I am in need of a little bit of a comfort read, I will often pick up Kate Morton because she's just so fantastic. So she wrote The Forgotten Garden. That one again I didn't really love. The House at Riverton is one I haven't read. The Clockmaker's Daughter. The Lake House. I think The Lake House was my first Kate Morton and I loved it. So, oh, The Distant Hours. Anyway, love her, love her, love her. Okay, back to thrillers. I have like key thriller authors that I really admire and love. This one is Renee Night. She wrote Disclaimer. She also wrote The Secretary. She just came out with that, about like, I don't know, 6-ish months ago. I really enjoyed that. So her thrillers are not gritty. I think they are more character-based than plot-based. And if that's really important to know actually when you're going into it, because her books don't really get high ratings on Goodreads. I think a lot of people when they pick up a thriller, they have a very certain thing in mind and they want a plot they can get lost in. And her plots aren't super intricate or anything. They really are character driven, but I like that. So if you like character driven books, maybe try out Renee Night because she's pretty fantastic at that. Oh my goodness. I discovered Kate Atkinson last year and fell madly in love, like madly in love. And she has such a huge backlist. I'm so excited. So I've read Life After Life. I've also read Transcription. She also has a detective series that I'm going to dive into as well. Barry got me all of them actually for Christmas, which is fantastic, except she just came out with a new one. So, but I should start at the beginning. Kate Atkinson writes a lot of historical fiction, and then she also apparently writes detective stuff, but her writing is very atmospheric in some ways. Like if you've ever had a hard time imagining the setting in books, I would really recommend Kate Atkinson because I specifically started reading Life After Life. This was my first Kate Atkinson, and everything just came to life from me. And I can struggle to paint pictures in my head about like what people are wearing and the settings that they're in. This follows a woman who lives a very strange life. She like will die in some instances, like even in her childhood, and then she'll live in other instances, and you like watch the different paths that her life could take. And there's a portion in here about World War II that is ingrained in my mind forever. The way that she explains the bombings, like I honestly felt like I was right there. It's so vivid. She's such a fantastic writer. Again, also the characters are so beautifully fleshed out. I cared about all of the characters. So I've only read 2 by her, Life After Life and Transcription, but I've got a heck of a lot of her more on my shelves because I just love her that much. So next up is a shocker to me. I hated her first book. I loved her second book, Celeste Ng. This is Little Fires Everywhere. This is the book that I loved. I did not really enjoy her first novel, Everything I Never Told You. She explores families and misunderstandings within families. In the first book, I really struggled with it because we're following a family who's just lost their eldest daughter. She's died, and you kind of retrace their steps and find out how miscommunication happened. And I, as someone who came from a family who like talk about everything, I really could not understand why the parents never just asked their children anything. It was very confusing to me. But it was well written. I remember thinking, I'm just driven mad by these characters. But if an author can make you do that, I think that's a good sign usually, unless they're completely stupid and you're angry with the author for it. In Little Fires Everywhere, it's similar, but you're kind of following two families and misunderstandings between two families. I think this is like smart Jodi Picoult. I tried to read a Jodi Picoult and I could not get on board with it because I hated the writing. But what I liked about the idea of Jodi Picoult is that she takes very complex issues that people have very like blunt, straightforward answers about, and she explores that and makes you kind of rethink what you think. And that's pretty much what Celeste Ng does as well. But to me, she does it like 10 million times better. So I really enjoy Celeste Ng, like polarizing, hated one book, loved the next. But I'm so fascinated by the stories that she does that I will always pick her up. Oh, my favorite horror author of all time, Paul Tremblay. I love Paul. He has written The Cabin at the End of the World. He also wrote A Head Full of Ghosts. I've got Disappearance at Devil's Rock on my shelves. I've also got Growing Things, which is a short story collection. He writes horror novels that you will not be able to put down. They make you unbelievably uncomfortable. In A Head Full of Ghosts, you're following a girl who might be possessed, and you're reading from the vantage point of her sister, which was immensely uncomfortable. Can you imagine being a child and having your older sister be possessed? It was creepy. The Cabin at the End of the World is about a family who have these invaders, like home invaders, come in, and they're like cult-like, and they just want their help to save the world, but you know that there's like something completely like weird about them. It's so unsettling. He is such an unsettling author. I just love him. I follow him on Facebook and Instagram. I just totally fangirling about this guy. I don't think he can do wrong, so I will always pick up Paul Tremblay. Another thriller author, this is pretty much mostly thriller based, which is interesting, is Gillian Flynn. Of course, she wrote Gone Girl, which is probably her biggest book. Sharp Objects. She wrote Dark Places, and I think she's in the middle of writing a new one, which I cannot wait for. We have been waiting for a new book from Gillian Flynn since Gone Girl, and I feel like that's been ages ago. But she has been really busy working on scripts. Like, I think she wrote the script to the Sharp Objects miniseries, which I really enjoyed. Amy Adams in that is so good. So what I love about Gillian Flynn is she writes very gritty stories, just like Karin Slaughter does. But she really dives into the female mind and the dark side of women. Now, I don't know about you, but I think I get more creeped out by the idea of a very scary woman than I do a scary man. Probably because women are so very unlikely to be scary. We're kind of, we're always the victims a lot of the time. And I love diving into a dark mind, but if it's a dark female mind, I'm totally in. And that's her jam. That's what she does. And she does it absolutely brilliantly. She is a fantastic thriller writer, in my opinion. And last up is another thriller author, Riley Sager. So Riley Sager wrote Final Girls. He also wrote The Last Time We Lied, or The Last Time I Lied. And he like really is a nostalgic author. Final Girls really is reminiscent of 90s horror movies like slasher flicks. The Last Time I Lied was set at a girls' camp. A girls' camp? Just like a summer camp. And things go wrong there. So it really brought up like R.L. Stine vibes for me. I think he's really inspired by that, and I just love all of that stuff. The subject matter and the storylines, the plot of Riley Sager's books hook me immediately, and I'm in, and I cannot put them down. So I will always read him. So those are all of the authors that I like have to read. The minute they come out with something new, I'm like, okay, put down everything you're reading and let's go. So let me know in the comments below if you have an auto-buy author and who is that? I mean, it's hard to narrow it down to one. Clearly, couldn't do that. So let me know a few that you absolutely love, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye guys.